Hey everybody, welcome to the Leader Lab. This is Leadership Shorts, quick thoughts to help you level up your leadership. My name is Chad Wright, the founder of Forward Partners. This is Emily Deal, our Chief Podcasting Officer. That's your new title now. What are we talking about today, Emily?
So today we're talking about the worst kind of burnouts, the sneaky burnouts.
The sneaky burnout.
The sneakiest of burnouts.
The sneakiest
that
of
comes
burnouts.
when you love your job.
Okay.
And so you have this idea that you're not going to get burnout, right? I can't be burnt out. I love my job.
Right.
Right?
Which is actually something I hear a lot in the work we do. Because there's this idea that burnout only happens to people that hate their jobs, right? To me, that's the obvious kind of burnout, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is I go to a job every day.
I'm in a bad place. I
Yes.
I feel the weight.
I've got a toxic work environment. I got a bad boss. Like, I hate every second of my existence in this place.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to burn out in this situation, right? But the sneakier kind is the people that love their jobs.
Yeah. How could I be burnt out? I love my job.
Yeah, I love it. And I think the reality is, and I've been through this, right? Like, the reason we have this company and do this is because I spent a lot of years leading badly, a lot of years in burnout. And it's funny when I think about my most unhealthy, most burned out seasons, I loved my job every second of the day.
Yeah.
And I put zero boundaries around it. And I think that's the issue is we love something, so we assume because we love it, it's good all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that nonstop, 24/7 work, 7 days a week, we think that's good.
Yeah.
And we're not designed to do that, are we?
Yeah, too much of anything can be a bad thing. Like, that's just how it is.
Even things you love, because then so much of not only are we exhausted, but so much of our identity then becomes tied up.
You're wrapped up in
whatever
it.
is. Yeah. And the problem is if we show up burned out every day, and this is what I experienced, never found success because I was so tired because there were no boundaries. We didn't set anything around, hey, maybe you should only work this many hours. Maybe you should only, like in the evenings, you shouldn't be answering emails and texts until midnight.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is like we get inspiration from our lives and from things that aren't necessarily doing the same thing every day.
That's
and
a really good
so
point.
if you're constantly doing this thing that you love, you're actually doing a disservice to yourself because you're not getting that outside inspiration to then give you new ideas and keep you going and keep everything flowing and like have, some breath in that.
That's actually a really good point. One of the things I'm always telling leaders, your most important ideas and the biggest advances you will ever have in your business, they're not happening in front of a computer.
Yeah.
They're not happening in a meeting. They're when you create space. They're when you go for a walk. They're when you go for a bike ride, when you just get out of your normal rhythms. And when we never disconnect, we don't have room for that, do we?
Right. We just kind of keep doing the same.
Yeah. And so I think really that sneakiness of the burnout is we assume we're never going to burn out because we love what we do.
Yeah.
And so if you love what you do, like I think that it's funny, I encounter a lot of people that hate what they do. I encounter a lot of people that are really passionate about what they do. And so if that's the person listening to this, like stop and go, do I have healthy boundaries around this? One of the things to think through with boundaries is, am I taking a day off? Like, we are all designed to take at least a day off and rest and recharge, and that's where life comes from. And so am I doing that? Do I have it blocked off on my calendar?
And a good thing is like that longevity, right? If you want to be doing it for a long time.
Yes.
Well, like you have to set those boundaries so that you're able to do that and you don't get burnt out from it. That sneaky burnout doesn't creep in and then you can't keep going on and doing what you love to do.
Please email us if anyone wants to order a sneaky burnout shirt because we're thinking of making it.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I think that's a really good point because we give a talk we call 96-4, and the basic concept is 96% of businesses fail in the first decade.
Yeah.
You start a business, there's a 4% chance you're going to make it, which are terrible odds. And yet, on the other side of it, every business problem is solvable. They have all been solved by somebody. And so what's the breaking point there? Why do those two disconnect? Why is it disconnected? And ultimately, it's the person at the middle.
Yeah.
If they break, there's nobody left to solve the problems. And so if we are burned out, if we love what we do so much that we drive so hard and we don't set good, healthy rhythms, eventually we're going to burn out.
Yeah, you're not going to keep doing what you love.
Yeah, you're not in it for the long haul. And I think part of this, too, goes to having a long vision. What do you want to be doing in 30 years? Do you want this to be a thing that you are still working on and still progressing on? And I think we just think in really short time frames, right?
Right. And I think it is important to know, like, what are you doing now that you like doing? What are you doing, and that set those points
Yeah.
You know, like, what do you want to be doing next year? What do you want to do in 40 years?
Yep.
And have that thought process to follow through so that you can know, like, you know, right now, this is what I love.
Yeah.
Is that what I want to do in the next 10 years? You know, you
Yeah.
can kind of identify that and, like,
Well,
set
and
some thoughts.
the long timeline lets you then understand the rhythm.
Right.
So, like, I have a vision for what I want to be doing 40 years from now. 40 years from now.
Podcasting.
I want to be casting all the pod. The joke I have is always I want to die on stage yelling at people about leadership in, like, my mid-80s, okay?
Yeah.
And so knowing that I want to do that 40 years from now, that has a very real effect on my rhythms today. I can't work 24 hours a day if I ever want to survive 40 years in this business.
Yeah.
And that should be true of all of us. That should dictate, if we see that long vision of what we want, that should then dictate a very real rhythm change for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just being cognizant of that, not letting our love of something overwhelm our need for
Sneak
rest.
up on you.
It does. It sneaks in there. It gets a hold of you, and it does damage. Burnout's, it's tricky that way. All right. If anybody wants to send us questions, send us their thoughts on Sneaky Burnout. Send us a request for a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Anything like that. Where would they send that to?
lab@forwardpartners.net.
lab@forwardpartners.net. If they want to follow us on the socials to see all the other things we're up to.
@forwardpartner.
@forwardpartner. You said that correct in my mind. I was thinking something else. I'm so glad you do this. Emily, this is why you are our chief podcasting officer. Thank you for doing this. Danny, thank you for producing. Wilco Workspaces, thank you for partnering with us. And thank y'all for watching. It means the world to us and listening. I guess if they're not watching, they're hearing our voices. So,
yes.
Yeah, there's that too. Thank you guys for dealing with this. We appreciate you being on this journey. We'll see you for the next episode. We do love them, don't we? We'll see you for the next episode of the Leader Lab with Leadership Shorts.